Welcome everybody, my name is Rainer and this is Rainier Books, and today is Tuesday the 30th of March, and it's time for a new tag video. I've paused for 2 weeks, but gladly I was tagged by Maria from MH Books, and she tagged me with a Covid Ketchup Tag. I put a link down to her video below. I also put a link down below to the video that originated, to the originator of this beautiful tag. And the first question is, first you have to see the intro. The first question is, when did you hear for the first time about COVID-19 or the coronavirus SARS-CoV-2? I did hear for the first time about it. I'm pretty sure that it was January last year, the January of 2020, because I listened to BBC NewsHour regularly, and they were sort of reporting about it all the time. And it was, I think, already in January 2020, it was their first news. The breaking news of the month, probably, and they were having it in the first time as the first news they delivered. And I started, I didn't start worrying actually, because it was far away in a Chinese city called Wuhan. So I thought, okay, there's a virus. We have had viruses before that didn't reach us. So I thought, okay, there's a virus over in China. But then things got serious already in February, because I think in February I got the news that the first people in Germany were infected. There was I think a Chinese businesswoman. She was making business with German companies, and she was together with two Germans traveling back from China to Germany, to Munich, and just outside Munich they were sort of getting sick and they got tested positive for the virus, and that's how I heard about it. And then I heard the great German professor Christian Drosten, who was one of the, I think, world leading experts and virologists from the Charité hospital in Berlin. I heard him on the news, and he said something like, this is coming to Germany now, and about 60 to 70% of the population will have to suffer the illness until we get out of this. And I thought, oh my God, this sounds super serious. And then we were already in March, and in March things started happening, and as you know, the first person in Sweden, I think, died on March 11, and it was also the time when they realized here in Sweden that they don't have protection equipment for the hospitals. They don't have tests. They couldn't provide tests. They run short of everything just after a few weeks, and they gave up everything and let the virus flow out in the society, which led to more than 13,400 deaths until today. So that is how I got the first news about it. And the next question I could answer somewhere else, I guess. The second question is, how is the situation in your neck of the woods? What is open, what is closed? And, well, today it's March 30, as I said, and the numbers, the infections are rising. Speaking of the third wave that has come to Sweden, and it is primarily the British variant B117 that is responsible for the rise in infections, and even on the emergency units in the hospitals here in Stockholm, we had a rise of 80% in the last 2 weeks. So it's getting crowded over there in the emergency units. People get very, very sick, and people die. So what's the situation in my neck of the woods? That's the situation. I mean, we are like number 12 in Europe, something like that. But still, the authorities, keeping it very cool, they are saying we don't need any kind of lockdown, we don't need harsh restrictions. We have our recommendations. We recommend you to wash your hands. We recommend you to stay away from each other, socially distance. We recommend that as many of you as possible stay at home and work from home. And I think every time we have a new big surge, the Prime Minister will stand in front of a camera and repeat this. Wash your hands, stay at home. We have to wash our hands even harder and harder now. So nothing big changes, and I think this is going to, their plan is, and that's what they are, some people suspect, and unfortunately I am one of them, is that they want to run the virus as much as possible through society because they know that vaccinations are far away. So what is closed, what is open? I mean, as you can see, we are allowed to walk, we are allowed to make walks, we are allowed to, like those children over there, we are allowed to play soccer or football. Shops are open, but the number of people that go into shops should be restricted, and the shops are responsible for not letting more than one person per 10 square meters into their shops. But the shops are responsible, and I think nobody's really controlling that. So groceries are open, pubs are open, restaurants are open, but they close pretty early. They close, I think, at 8:30, and they're not allowed to sell alcohol in the evenings anymore. So that has changed. That has been this way for a lot of weeks now. And we'll go on like this at least until May, they said today. We have to prolong this kind of recommendations for another month. So we have no concerts, we have no cinema, no movie theaters running, and no theaters. And they, I think they also have, they have also said that the if you go to a pub, a company of not more than 8 people is allowed. So you can go take your 7 of your friends and go into the pub with them. But you have to leave at 8:30 in the evening. So no more long nights here. I'm going up the hill here, and I'm going to answer the third question on that hill, I think. Birds are singing in the sky. Question number three is, did you pick up a book during the time of the pandemic just because of the pandemic? And I think I have to answer yes to that question, because the book that definitely I wouldn't have picked up when there wouldn't have been a pandemic was The End of October by Wright, that I think was published in 2020 before Covid came around the world. But Wright, a journalist who wrote an amazing book about Al-Qaeda, the Looming Tower, and I think won the Pulitzer for it. He wrote a thriller, and this is called The End of October, about a pandemic that is discovered somewhere in Indonesia and then spreads around the world. It's extremely deadly. I think 70-80% of the world population die of this pandemic, and that's called The End of October. And in the end, spoiler alert, if you want to read this, don't listen to the next 20-30 seconds. The virus comes from mammoths that were buried under the ice, and because of climate change, the ice is melting in the polar regions of Russia, and that's why the virus that was buried for thousands of years comes back to Earth and kills so many people. That was a book that I picked up because of the pandemic. I actually discovered now that I took the fourth question before the third question, so I have to go back to the third question, and that is, if we will ever be able again to travel to a beach, what kind of book would you read on a beach? What are you looking forward to reading on the beach? I have to say that I have 2 favorite beaches on this planet. There could be more, but I visited 2 of them in the past couple of years, and they belong They are, of course, among my favorites because I had a very good time there. One beach was at the Atlantic Ocean, and that is Costa da Caparica in Portugal, south of Lisbon. A beautiful, beautiful place. Just half an hour with a bus from Lisbon. And which book I would read some Portuguese literature there. So if you are, I would love to read some contemporary Portuguese authors, more modern authors, like born in the 60s or 70s. If you have any recommendations, please let me know. And the other favorite beach that I have is Rockaway Beach, not in New York, but in Oregon State in the United States. And this is an amazing beach with miles of sand, and it's not so crowded. That's the beautiful thing about it in the summer. And they have beautiful motels and hamburger places, and so Americana pure, if you like that sort of stuff. And it's at Highway 101, which goes from Los Angeles to Olympia in Washington. Highway 101. And what book would I love to read at this beach? Some Oregon stuff, probably. So feed me with authors that are writing about Oregon and about the Oregon coast, maybe, especially. That would be interesting to me. So I'm open for suggestions both for Portugal and for the Oregon coast. And maybe I have the opportunity to discover another beach in the next coming years, if I make it through this pandemic. If you make it through this pandemic, I hope we all do. So question number 5 is next, but I have to go to another place to do this. So for the last 2 questions, I arrived at home. The 5th question of the COVID Ketchup Tag is, what is the best video that you have made or have seen during the time of the pandemic? I would say that I would never mention the video of myself. There are much better videos out there. So I definitely think, and if I live booktube, you know that I am a great fan of Mr. Bolton Bankrupt, Mr. Benjamin from Bolton Bankrupt, who has now his 2nd channel that is called The Daily Bald. And Benjamin has made a couple of great videos recently in Ukraine. And there was one video that I remember where he visited the city of Lysychansk in Ukraine for showing us a mosaic. And he shows us places on Earth, especially in the post-Soviet and former Soviet era, former Soviet Union, that we otherwise do not see. And that is great stuff, and he gets better and better. So his videos I would mention here. The final question before I have to tag some people is, are you going to take the vaccine? The answer is yes. I think we don't have a choice. We have to take the vaccine because this is really the worst pandemic in our lifetime, probably. And hopefully so, because I hope that we don't experience another pandemic after this one for the next decades to come. You never know. Definitely, but we have, in the European Union, we have problems with getting the vaccine. First, they said like 2 or 3 weeks ago that everyone in Sweden would have their first shot in April. Now they still say that that will be in June, during the month of June. But also the state epidemiologist Anders Tegnell said today that he doesn't really believe that we get the first shot in June because the delivery of the vaccine is late. And at the same time, I just listened between my walk outside, between answering the first questions and now answering the last questions. I listened to the podcast of Professor Christian Drosten, German virologist, probably one of the top virologists in the world. Today, he does a podcast every 2nd Tuesday now, and Christian Drosten today said the situation is very, very serious in Germany and in Europe because this 3rd wave with the English variant B117 is super strong, and there might be in May an incidence of 2,000 cases per 100,000 inhabitants. Right now we have 140 in Germany, but we're already on a very high ground here in Sweden, so it might jump up even higher here in this country. At the same time, Drosten says that B117 is a variant that is sort of covered by the vaccines that we are hopefully going to get soon, but that the South African variant and the Brazilian variant And there are some other variants also on the loose or right now. But the Brazilian and South African, they can create an immune escape, which means that the vaccine will not help against them. Vaccine producers are already working on fixing vaccines, but the vaccine producers and the researchers, the scientists, they are sort of struggling and racing together with the virus because the virus is trying desperately to find a way to still be able to infect as much people as possible. This is still very, very serious, and we are not going to get out of it this year. But yes, I will take the vaccine, and I hope that it will come sooner than later. The last job that I have to do is to tag some people, and I appreciate doing that. Actually, I have to mention also the guy who created this tag, and this was Alan from Big Hard Books and Classics. Go to his channel and visit his channel. Subscribe to him. He's doing a great job. And I would like to tag 3 fellow booktubers that I think haven't been tagged in this tag yet. And this is Jota from Jota's Books Capades. This is Katja Weinert from Read, Write, and Create. And this is Mika from Pretty Little Bibliophile. These 3 I tag. And I will be back on Tuesday. I saw already there were a couple of videos about fellow booktubers judging the BookTube prize because it's out right now. You know, the first round, the octafinals are over tomorrow, I think, and the quarterfinals will start on April. I already got invited. I will be judging the BookTube prize quarterfinals now, the 6 novels. I got 6 novels attached to me that I have to read and judge until the end of May, I guess. I will tell you more about these novels on Sunday. Not more, but I will mention them, definitely, because I'm not supposed to say anything about them except mentioning their titles. So I'm coming to that, and I also will make a selection. I will not present the whole list of the International Booker Prize. Today, the International Booker Prize was announced, the long list, and some of you, Paula has already done a video about it, and also Eric Carl Anderson, of course, has done immediately a video about it at the same time as it was published. I will pick my favorites out of this list, and we'll talk about them on Thursday. So stay tuned. Wear a mask, or as President Biden says in the United States, mask up. And see you soon. Bye-bye.